So I'm going to start a new segment here. I got my water and I got my chips, and I made sure it's only like a serving's worth left in here. But I'm starting this new segment, and I'm going to call it Story Time with Measy Bear. So I'm going to tell you guys scary, spooky, funny, embarrassing stories as soon as I think of them. I think I'm going to post them every Monday or Sunday, because Sundays are sad because you realize the next day is Monday, and Mondays are sad because it's Monday. So everybody loves stories. So my first story, I'm going to call it The Walking Goose. It was actually waddling, so the waddling goose. Or duck. I don't know what it was. Okay, so I went to this football party like 2.5 years ago with my mom's friend and this little girl named Elenia, and my other two friends named Ender and Addie. So we were all at their house, and they had, like, you know how in the gated communities they have all the houses and then the man-made looking river? So they had that in the back of the house, and there were ducks in the river, and we were just walking around because we got kind of bored, and Dashi and I weren't allowed to do the water fight stuff because we hadn't brought bathing suits or towels. So we were just walking around, and we walked behind the house that was right next to the football party house. So we walked next to the house, and there were these ducks. So all the boys walked up to the ducks, and they were poking at them and stuff. And me and my sister and Addie, we were all homeschool friends. So we were telling them not to because we knew the ducks would get agitated, and that's not fair because they have feelings too. I mean, they're living things. So we were telling them to stop, but they were still bugging them. And eventually, the geese started to retaliate. Like, these things started coming after us over and over again. And it was kind of entertaining, but still kind of scary. So we walked over there to tell them to stop. And these geese started honking. And then, this thing did the scariest thing. It started waddling, like, quickly running after us. They were running, and it was scary. We all started bolting back to the patio, and it had a white door, and it was a screen like the regular patio, and we just bolted back to the patio. And these ducks, we hadn't noticed till we got back to the patio, but they stopped at like the line in between the houses, so we were actually fine. And then they walked back over. Instead of being behind the house, they walked back over and went to the river. So at this point, we were all just like, okay, that was crazy, but it was kind of fun. Anyway, next, after that, we walked back over because they were playing with water balloons. So Dashi and I were just filling up water balloons, and after we played for water balloons with like 10 minutes, because these kids got bored of stuff easily. So we walked back over to where the ducks were, and they were by the pond this time. So we walked over to them, and we were just talking, and then we started talking directly to the ducks, even though we knew they couldn't understand us. And the first time we started walking over there, they chased us again, so we all bolted. But this time, the leader duck, and he had the most orange bill I have ever seen on a duck. And it was just plain white feathers and webbed feet, and the claws were huge, and I was just freaking out. And this thing came bolting after us, waddling in its crazy way. And then we all ran back, but since we knew it wasn't going to chase us all the way, we didn't lock ourselves in the patio. And then I think this was the second to last time we went to bug the ducks. So the second to last time we went to bug the ducks, my sister almost got her foot bitten off, and I'm actually not exaggerating, that's actually what happened. And then the second time we walked back over to the water, and the ducks were starting to swim away, and we knew subconsciously that we were going to get bored. So we started bugging them again. And then I called this duck a baby name, and this thing started swimming back out of the water and coming back at us. However, I didn't even really notice at first, so I was looking over to Addie, and I was just talking to her about, I don't know what I was talking to her about. It was like 2.5 years ago. How am I supposed to remember? Anyway, so I looked back down at my foot, and I was wearing like my favorite brown moccasin type shoes. I looked back down at my foot, and this duck bill is literally touching my foot. I scream and yank my foot backwards, jerk around, and start running back to the patio. At this point, I am freaked out. I bolt back to the patio because I just couldn't handle seeing the duck this close to me. And I was just shocked and frightened. And then we ran back in, and at this point, we just went and had like 12 plates of chips worth for the rest of the night. And that's also not an exaggeration. Okay, second story. So this story is a spooky tale, and I'm going to go into immense detail just so that you guys can get why it's kind of scary. It's not like anything too scary happened, so like if you get scared easily, you can still listen to the story. It's not that bad. So once I was in Utah. No, we were in Arizona. We had just come back from going to the Grand Canyon, and it hadn't been that foggy that day, so we were driving. We had been driving for so long that Dashi and I actually finished a full chip bag and almost a whole soda between the two of us. So we were driving, and then we decided to take a pit stop. It wasn't like a gas station or anything, because that's where we had just been to get the chips and the soda. But we took a pit stop at this place that had rocks and this huge bridge. It was like, it wasn't like New York Bridge huge, but it was like bigger than normal bridges because of the big space of water. So we walked there. I know it was like some kind of landmark, but I didn't actually know what it was because I didn't pay attention and Mommy and Daddy told us what it was. But Dashi and I were told by Mommy and Daddy to be really careful because we wanted to go climb on the rocks, of course. And we didn't really take that into account, and we were just jumping all over the rocks and climbing and stuff. And so Mommy and Daddy said it was almost time to leave because we had been there for like 10 to 15 minutes. And Dashi and I saw this stand where this woman was selling dream catchers and beautiful earrings. And we were like, Mommy, Daddy, can we please get some? And it took us about 10 minutes to get them to let us buy the earrings. We were just talking about them, talking about how cheap they were, talking about how much we wanted them. I actually got these really pretty moonstone earrings that I actually can't wear anymore because I got this ear infection and now I can't wear earrings for a while, but they were really pretty and I loved them at the time. So finally, after like 10 minutes of negotiation and pleading and begging, we finally got the earrings that we wanted. So we got back in the car and back on the road, and Dashi and I were talking. We were like, oh my goodness, we really love these earrings. They're so pretty. And we got onto this road. It was very quiet and barely any cars, and we were just driving. There was this huge orange mountain, because there are a lot of orange mountains there, because the dust is just orange, and it blows everywhere. So there was this huge orange mountain. Dashi and I were looking out the back window, gawking at it, like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And then we saw this car stopped in front of us, and there was like one more car in front of it. And Dashi and I were wondering what happened. And Mommy and Daddy got out of the car, and they were looking at stuff, and they got back in the car. And so Dashi and I were asking what happened up ahead, and they said that there had been this huge crash. So Dashi and I got out of the car, because Mommy and Daddy said we could. We were going to have to wait a while. And then, after like 5 minutes of Dashi and I climbing around on rocks, finding really pretty rocks and bringing them back to Mommy and all that kind of stuff, we saw these rescue helicopters. This was after about like 30 minutes. Dashi and I had started to get bored. It was crazy. We had been waiting for so long. We didn't really know what was happening. Dashi and I didn't, but these huge helicopters, they were the ambulance helicopters, I don't remember what they're called, but they came flying down to this car, and people were, it was like the Hunger Games where people get picked up in those claw things. Somebody actually got picked up in that. And I was like, what is happening? And I asked Daddy if I could walk over there, and this man who had gotten out of the car in front of us, he was like, you don't want to go over there, you'll get scarred for life. And I was freaking out. And then I found out from what Mommy and Daddy said that about 10 minutes before we got there is when the crash happened. So if Dashi and I hadn't begged our parents to get those earrings for 10 minutes straight, it would have been us who got killed in that crash. And those are my stories. Thank you guys so much for watching, and comment down below if you really like the stories. Also comment down below if you want me to play music in my videos. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!